There it is. All right, welcome in to Two Bald Guys and a Microphone right here, 21.6 The Net. Every Wednesday morning, hump day. That gets you through the week. Of course, brought to you through the financial support of our good friends over at Natural Therapy Wellness Center. Give them a chance. www.mchenrymassage.com, 815-385-8190. Consistently voted best of the Fox. And they're amazing. Acupuncture, Thai yoga massage, deep tissue, sports, you couples name it. Massage. Couples. John and his team over there of licensed massage therapists, absolutely fantastic. Give them a chance.
I've met a lot of licensed drivers that aren't really good drivers.
Not really, but
these guys are licensed in massage therapy, and they're really good. Each and every one of his members on staff are just phenomenal. So he's been doing my massages for quite a while.
Yeah.
A couple of months ago, he had to hand me off to one of his staff members, and she was just as good as he was. It was a phenomenal massage.
That's it.
We're going to actually start with Reboot today.
Welcome back. You were down in the country of Texas.
I was.
And of course, Damon, I think he's on his way. If not, I'm sure he'll chime in. Good morning, Lisa. Glad to have you with us. But good week. Yeah, good
it was good. We decided we normally stay someplace, but we don't get the hotel until an hour or so before we're ready. And this time we decided to just drive all the way through. So we drove straight through on Friday night. I got there on Friday night, and I got out for a couple of bike rides. My first one, Sean went out for a 60-mile bike ride with his crew he rides with, and then he came back and was going on a ride with Jesse and I. Jesse's 15, and he's a killer bike rider. And they're holding back to stay with the old man. And about 13 miles into the ride at 103 degrees.
Yeah, I was going to say,
there's a 7-Eleven coming up, and I'm like, oh, they have those frosty things. So
yeah, Slurpees. Yeah.
Slurpees. So we pulled in, and after sitting there for a few minutes in that heat, I said, you know what, I need to call my wife. Well, she didn't answer the phone. So Sean got on his bike, rode home at like a double time, get the car and my wife to come back, and him and Jesse finished the ride, and I loaded up and called it quits that day. But I did get over 150 miles in. But the rest of the week I rode in the early morning hours when it was, a mere 90, 93, 96.
And Don says, hey, sorry, he was in Colorado while you were in Texas. Planned that perfectly, Don. By the way, well played, sir.
Yes.
Of course.
I did stop by at your house. No, I didn't.
Yeah. If it looked like somebody stayed there. Of course, we are on part 2 of whose voice do you hear in your head? Not what voices,
right? Whose
voice do you hear in your head? And of course, we always start out with Reboot. Right.
Reboot. The R in Reboot is to recognize. Recognize you need to make some changes.
That's it.
The E is
educate. Once you recognize that you need to make some changes, start learning about why it is that you think the way you think, why it is you do what you do, and then ways to fix that. And the B
is for believe. You got to believe that what you're doing, the changes you're making, are going to be the right changes. And sometimes in the middle, don't be afraid to cut bait, because you may have started a change that sounded good, but as you're moving down that path, it just doesn't work for you. So you have to believe in what you're doing.
That's right.
If you don't, nobody else will.
That's right.
The first O in reboot
is the operating system. Yeah, sometimes you got to turn it off, unplug, replug it back in to reset. But to understand that your operating system works in a certain way for reasons. Yeah. And Damon and I talked a little bit about that last week. And the other O.
It's about orchestrate your life. If you think of the conductor in an orchestra, he turns his back to the audience and faces his team. At the end of the performance, even though he's the one who put the score together, he's written it, he's controlled it, he gives credit to the guys who actually did the work, guys. Yeah. And in your life, I've done a lot of work with leadership, but what I didn't really get until really just recently, a few years ago, is the concept of self-leadership. How well are you leading yourself? How well are you orchestrating your life? And the T in reboot is about
test. You always try it, write it down, see what happens,
and adjust, right? Test and adjust. If it's not working, make those small changes that you need to make to put it. So the reboot process can be applied to any area of your life. You can reboot a relationship. You can reboot a health issue. You can reboot at any point. I mean, what's a reboot you've done lately?
Oh, geez. A lot of it is my challenge, my personal challenge on reading the mantra every day, 3 times a day. And it works, and that mantra is I will not get angry today. I was just like, hey, you're not coming? What's going on? The mantra is I will not get angry today. I will not worry today. I will be grateful today. I will work hard and smart today. I will be kind to everything, and I will not judge anything. You say that 3 times a day with meeting, and that is a huge reboot for me, because what I had recognized is on the station, I play a grouchy old man sometimes, right? We talked about it off air, last week, but
is that a play?
I poke the bear a lot, and I realized that was starting to bleed into everything that I do and the way that I attack life. So I said I got to reboot, and this is the way to do it. And it's been amazing, the results already that I see. Because of course, in 2 days, 3 days, my daughter's getting married. So you can imagine that there's a little bit of stress going on, a little bit of anxiety going on in the Jones household.
He's actually co-officiating the wedding with his father.
Yeah.
So father and
really
son
cool.
are officiating wedding of daughter, granddaughter.
Yeah.
And that poor groom.
Yeah, it's gonna be cool. Jen's gonna be there. Jen's gonna be a big help. We appreciate that. Toby, man, prayers going out to you. Thank you. Toby is out on the front line in those forest fires. He's the medic out there helping guys stay safe, giving them oxygen. He has sent me some incredible photos. But hope you're safe, brother. You might even be on some time off. I know they go, a bunch of days on and then some time off. So hopefully you can get home, see your beautiful wife, and exhale before and inhale some fresh air before you had to you had to head back, man. But appreciate you and love you for what you're doing for everybody. So keep up the good work. So the voice in your head, right? Whose is it? We talked last week a little bit about the social piece. Is that society's voice rolling into your head? And I've had some great conversations coming off of that. You weren't here. Whose voice do you hear?
Watching the show and the recap of it, the voice I hear the most in my head is my grandmother's.
Wow.
My grandma, my dad was busy farming. My mom was busy with all kinds of crazy stuff. Grandma always had time. No matter how busy she was, she's the one who taught me how to hunt and fish. She's the one who taught me how to do things. As a matter of fact, I don't know if you're familiar with the Reader's Digest version of the night my daughter was born. We were in the post-championship basketball game when my wife went into labor.
I remember, yeah.
And at halftime, she came over and her water had broken, and she's like, "We need to go have a baby." And I called the hospital, and they said, "Oh, you've got hours." And I told my wife, they said, we can finish the game. The game went into overtime.
Of course.
At the end of the first overtime, it was tied. At the end of the second overtime, it was tied. And I was fouled as time expired. So I'm sitting at the line. I have to make one free throw to win the game, the post-championship, and go have a baby, which I did. We won the game. We went and had a baby. We laughed about it. The next morning, we were in Denver, Colorado. The day after the baby's born, I'm just toast, right? I'm sound asleep.
Emotionally, physically, yeah.
I've got a game off. You got a bug on there.
Yeah, a little ants crawling around.
Where's the uncle?
Oh, a little flying ant or two.
That's nice. My grandmother lived by Pueblo, Colorado, and we were stationed in Denver. It's about a 2-hour drive.
Yeah.
I could knock on the door, and I get up and I go over and I open the door, and it's Grandma. And I'm like, "Grandma," she slaps me, bam, and she goes, "Don't you ever do anything like that again," and gets in her car and drives back to Pueblo. Didn't go up and see the baby, didn't do anything. She just wanted to make sure I got the message that was not the best choice I could have made.
Present for the other two, huh? Didn't play basketball those days.
I did not. Well, actually, there are other stories, but those for another day. But it's her voice in my head that keeps me moving down the right path. And one of the things I've always told my athletes when it comes to the athletic policies, no smoking, no drinking, no this, basically anything you won't do with your grandmother, don't do it. You'll be just fine. You'll meet all the criteria of the athletic policy.
I hope your grandma's not a hippie.
Well, several years ago now, but there was a grandma who was, and the kid says, "My grandma smokes pot. Is that okay?" I'm like, well, what goes on at grandma's house stays at grandma's house.
So how much weight do you guys put on? You hear that voice. And do you just brush it off like, or are you like, let me sit and listen to this and let this ruminate for a while? Or do you go, that's just my my subconscious playing, doing whatever?
The little angel and the devil.
Yeah.
Battle. Yeah. I think that I almost always ignore it for a little while until I get myself in trouble. Okay. And then it's like, oh yeah, if I would have just listened to Grandma, I would have been fine.
Yeah. All right. Well, how about you?
It depends on the day, and I mean that in all sincerity. It depends on how I'm feeling, and because so much of what we do is dictated by how we feel.
Yeah.
Right.
And so depending on the day, if it's a day where I'm feeling, got good rest, feeling good. I'll listen to that voice in a certain manner. It's like, okay, yeah, I'm going to go. I'm going to get after this. And if it's the day where I woke up on the wrong side of the bed, yeah, I hear it. Yeah, I should do that. But I don't feel like, I'm a little tired.
You're right.
That's why I put my bed against the wall so I can never get up on the wrong side.
Right. Got to roll out.
Yeah. So, yeah, no, it does in a lot of ways. So that, one of the challenges I think we all have to we all have to recognize is that we've got to learn how to listen to that voice no matter what, and not let our feelings dictate that. And I'm just saying, I'm still in that position where I allow how I feel sometimes to dictate whether I listen to that voice or not.
So with the new challenge that I have and reading that mantra is, last night, now for those of you who know me, I punch out at 4. Right, 4 p.m. I punch out. Okay,
banker's hours.
Hey, we're doing stuff around the house. Jen will tell you she's seen my rhythm for years. We're doing little things around the house. We're doing whatever. At 4 o'clock, bam! I'm a morning guy, so I'm up at 5 in the morning every day. I'm up. My eyes like, hey, let's go. Time to get up. And at 4 o'clock, no matter what we're doing, I'll go shower. I'm punched out. It's time for me to relax for the rest of the day. So yesterday, we've created the lid, right? So we put a cover over our patio. It looks great. And we call it the lid, so we can hang out under the lid. And one of the reasons is the law of the lid.
Yep.
Right? That's there's some laws of the lid. You just be happy, love everybody, and don't stress when you're under the lid. Right. So what happens is we've got these 50-foot string of Edison lights that we're stringing up underneath the lid. And Alice is like, I got to run and do this. We'll be back. I'll be back. And then we can hang the lights. Now, yesterday, my day took me from McHenry to Algonquin to Carpentersville to Woodstock.
Oh.
I put on miles yesterday, right? Now, and there was just a lot of work done, and I still had work to do. I was still working. And so she goes and comes up and says, all right, let's go hang those lights. It's like 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock. I'm like, oh, I'm punched out. And so what happens is we're hanging the lights, and I can feel myself starting to get angry, right? Because it's getting dark out. You're trying to screw the lights up, the whole works. So you're just little, and then the mantra comes in. I hear the voice. I won't get angry today. Okay. This is not a big deal. Why, and then I start having that conversation in my head, like, hey, Deke, why are you getting all upset about this? It's going to be done in 10 minutes.
Right.
Right. And so I hear the voice because I've been saying this mantra, 3 times a day with meaning and passion. And as I feel my blood pressure start to go up, where I'd be like starting to drop F-bombs and throwing stuff and getting angry,
right.
And the best part is watching Alice, because she's ready to apologize. Like, I'm sorry we started so late, because she knows 4 o'clock.
Right.
Done. Right. And she's a night owl. So at 4 o'clock, she's like, let's go. She's just getting her wins. And she's kind of looking at me. She's like, you should be getting pissed right now. Right. So I'm just like, yeah, it's no big deal. We'll get it. And she's just like, what? So, but then I start having that inner conversation, and it's my voice that I'm hearing at this point. It's not anybody else's. It's like, hey man, you're right. Look, you got 17 more screws to put in or whatever. Why are you gonna get upset right now? Just get it done. And it was cool. Toby says, for me, the importance that the voice place depends on how the magnitude of particular situation weighs at that moment. Yeah. First responder, adventure guide. Don't take the next step. You're going to go over the cliff. Right. And we laugh about it, but this is what he sets up adventure races, and he's out there amongst the fire, and hey, don't step on that rattlesnake. That you hear that voice, hey, that next step, look over that log that's burning or whatever. There could be an animal. What, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, I would agree that there's probably something in each situation. To your point too, how do I feel? Where am I at? That says you better listen,
right,
or don't listen.
Right. Absolutely.
Shana says, my husband never fully appreciates when I remind him of a goal he isn't meeting. Good morning. I enjoy, to be honest, when Alice holds me accountable to my goals. Right now, I'm fine right now would be the answer, but then I walk away going, yeah, she's absolutely right. She's absolutely.
I was listening to a speaker the other day, and he says, my wife came in and she gave me a to-do list this long, and I got to think of, what if I handed my wife a to-do list? I wonder how that would go over.
You better make an airplane and toss that to her. Hey, gotta
go. So he's kind of like, I want to make sure you do the laundry, you do this.
Yeah.
And it's like, don't do that, guys.
No,
just take the list and get her done.
Get her done. Rip it. Right. Jen says, same way. 4 p.m. is a great time to start great projects and ideas flow. The Lid is an inspiring place. Yeah, she's hung out there a little bit. Yeah, and Jen's that way too. I mean, she's that night owl. That's when, and that's really when Alice and those creative, I mean, 11 o'clock, she's vacuuming. I'm like, what? It's 11 p.m. I'm trying to say, why are you vacuuming the house right now? It's got to get done.
That sucks.
I don't do that because I can sleep through anything. Truly, like whatever. You were vacuuming. Hey, Anthony, how are you? Tony the Kid, of course, one of the rejects. Great to have you. I saw Lisa. Lisa's Living Outside the Box. New episode this Sunday at 9 a.m. It's going to be cool. Reject Rundown. Rejects are going to be on Saturday. They'll probably be going live during the pay-per-view event for WWE.
I just got an idea for a great new show.
Yeah.
Jen should come on and do a Angels Among Us type of show. What do you think, Jen? Toss that around. I think that would be
she could do it from the studio down there now.
Right.
Yeah. So I think the voice in our head, society has told us to ignore. Right. You can go all the way back to like biblical times or whatever. You hear voices. So some say, you're cool if you say, I hear my grandmother's voice. You're insane if you say, I hear God.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And maybe not. Maybe God's speaking right into your soul, and that's what you have. But the idea is that perhaps that voice in our head that we hear maybe doesn't have a voice, right? Because you think about this. Uncle Pete and Ron, huge parts of this station. Can you hear their voice? And the answer is no. It's been gone for so long. But if I go on to YouTube and I catch an old show, or I listen on 216thenet.com and I catch an old show and I hear their voice, it's instant.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. But if I'm reading through the last text that I have from Ron Hostry from 3 years ago, I don't hear his voice. Right. I want to. I'm reading his words, but I really don't hear anything or my voice. Right.
Yeah.
But then when you go back and we've got, I downloaded all the East Texas Wisdoms. I sent it to his grandson at the time and his son. And I'm like, don't ever forget your grandpa. Here's a Dropbox of your grandpa's great wisdom. And but if I go back and listen to that, I'm good. I hear what I would say is my grandfather, my mom's dad. But I don't, you know what I mean? He's been gone for so long.
Right.
Right. And so as we listen, as we hear that, do we want it to be grandma?
Almost every time I talk with you on the phone,
yeah,
you will ask the question, how can I make your day better?
Yeah.
So you're telling me you don't hear Ron Hostry's voice when you say that?
No, I've stolen some things from him for sure. Yeah, right. Because I'll always do that. No matter what time you call, hey, I'm not interrupting anything, am I? Right. And I say that all the time to anybody that I call. It's great for sales too. It's like, no, you're not interrupting. Great, got your time. Let's go. Right. The other thing Ron would always tell me is like, hey, Deke, call him next time you can't talk so long. Jen says, LOL. List idea to ladies. Yikes, you boys might need full body armor for that. Maybe on the show idea. And then people can't hear it all when so much of our focus is outside of us. I like this.
That's a great point.
Our nervous systems are in constant alarm. It's hard to give energy to deeper thoughts. Yeah, you like that.
Remember the meerkats from the Lion King?
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of what we're like today. My son has 2 new cats, and one of the cats is very skittish, and it's just she'll take 8 steps and then she'll go like this. Yeah. I feel society's kind of doing that right now. we're just waiting for the other shoe to drop.
Oh, yeah.
What's going on? Is Russia going to fire the nuclear missile? Is North Korea? What's going on? Where's the next?
We do not promote violence nor nuclear war on the show. Yeah. So we're in I agree. We are in a constant state of flight.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Or fight. I was, thumbing through the phone, and I see this CDC 3 major viruses to watch out for this winter. And you're like,
ooh,
oh boy, what's going on now? Flu, cold, COVID. And I'm like, what? You're going to shock a headline like that for what happens every winter.
Right. Right.
But again, to that point, keeps us in constant fight or flight. Right? We can't take a deep breath and listen to that still voice inside of us.
Yeah. Unless you get to the point where you get numb to it and it's like another headline and you keep moving.
There are several people who work at the same area where Northern Illinois Windows office is, and the one lady walks by and she goes, "Did you see the law they just passed?" And I'm like, "No." She says, "They're going to allow illegal aliens to become police officers." I'm like, "What? You're crazy." So I go through and I look up the article. It's eligible immigrants, not illegal immigrants.
Yeah, reading is fundamental.
But she gets this word in her head, and she was going off.
Yeah.
And when I read the correction to her, it's eligible immigrants, and she's still, well, that's so wrong. I said, I'm looking at her going, she's not American Indian. I'm like, so where does your family come from? And she said, well, our family comes from Czechoslovakia. So basically, you're an immigrant.
Right.
You would be the definition.
Right. and it's just like we get this stuff and we're all up in arms and we're looking for a fight. Right. Saturday night in Nebraska, we showered, washed off the Weeks farm and went to town, listened to some music and got in a fight. I mean, it's just what you did. And if there wasn't anybody you didn't know to fight with, you'd fight with your friends just to get in a fight. It's just what you did. And it seems like the whole world right now is looking for a fight.
Try that in a small town. Too soon? Sorry. Sorry.
Let's go. Let's go. No, but your point goes to what we were talking about last week, is just so many people are hearing the voice of society and what the media news outlets are telling us to listen to.
I'm with Shayna. When she said that, I would have been like, you ever watch Men in Black? Aliens have been in police for a long time.
That's right.
Oh, we're not talking about those aliens, are we? Or are we?
I got the zipper.
Yeah. Right.
Maybe they implanted.
Yeah.
That's right.
Elton John had a song about Saturday night. Saturday night's all right for fighting. It is. Yeah. And hey, if you want to know what's on, I don't know if that's on Netflix or Hulu. It might be on Netflix, but Elton John's LA last concert in LA is amazing. It's just he is an incredible talent still. He's like 9,000 years old. Nelton, thanks for tuning in this morning. Two
bald guys in a microphone. Well, 3 bald guys.
All of us here. It's crazy. So how do we how do you manage the voice in your head? What is it instinctively that you do when you hear it? So a lot of times, especially for people in a lot of just people in general now, doesn't matter where you live anymore, spend a lot of time in a car driving, right? That's where a lot of good prayer happens. That's where a lot of conversations in your head happen. How do you manage that? How do you file that? How do you work with that?
We had a guest on several years ago that changed our lives, but the guy's name was Chuck Inman. You remember him? Chemical brain freeze. And it's those 4 steps that help you manage really anything, especially the conflict that gets in your head. Just stop. When you recognize, going back to reboot, when you recognize that you're in that area, that the voices in your head are taking you the wrong direction. It's telling you you're in conflict. Stop, take a deep breath, and go to your happy place for a second. The power of gratitude is off the charts. You know, what are you most grateful for today? I mean, I'm grateful to see you walk in here. I mean, I'm grateful that, you know, Kent is here and gets everything going where I just need to come in and sit down. Right. What are you grateful for today? And get that dopamine moving in your system. Then when there's a voice left, it's going to be that positive voice, at least in my mind, you know, and ask yourself the question, obviously. But those 4 steps, when we can go through them, will remove the conflict. And when we can get ourselves out of conflict, then we can discern which voice it is we should be listening to. Other than that, when we're in the midst of conflict, when we're already in fight or flight and somebody pokes you, you know,
yeah,
we had a cat named Dynamite. Dynamite would be sound asleep. We called her Dynamite because you just tap her tail and she'd take off 100 miles an hour. And we have a tendency to do that. And all of this garbage going around, just like this lady yesterday. Do you see the law on illegal immigrants being police officers? And I'm like, that just doesn't make sense.
Right.
How could you even believe that or move with that? But people do. They grab these things and then they go on and they don't just share them. They share them with enthusiasm, like it's the, you know, the God's honest truth. And it gets this snowball rolling. And
how about you?
Yeah, I approach it with curiosity and just ask, you know, why am I having these thoughts? You know, why is my mind racing right now? What's going on? And then try to get to the root of it. And I like what Jen says is if it's positive, let it flow. If it's negative, let it go. And so just working to get to the point to letting it go when it's those negative thoughts. And, you know, I do try to do what Coach says, just stop.
Yeah.
You know, that's a good place to go. But even in those moments when I'm unable to stop, then I start asking the questions. Okay, what's bothering me? Why am I having such a hard time? What is it about this particular topic, subject, thought that's, you know, that I'm having a hard time letting go?
And so fear usually indicates an obsessive thought versus an internal guide source for Shana anyway. So I mean, but we have you can't always go to happy place.
True.
Right? That's unhealthy. Right. And we talked about that last week. You're like, hey, you can't stop a negative thought. Negative thought's going to come.
Yep.
Right. And that's really unhealthy if you try, you know, to stop a negative thought, or something of that nature. Fear, that's the amygdala, your flight or fight, away you go. So we're always at that heightened aspect. So the question is, and the opportunity is not to ignore it to go away,
right?
But to get to that happy place, or get to a place where you're like yesterday, as I'm screwing this in at 7:30, 8 o'clock at night. There's not a lot of light. It's just the light on front of the drill as you squeeze the trigger, and I'm reaching them on a ladder, and
the screw pops and falls.
Oh yeah, you know, and I can feel where any other time, any other year, any other month of this year, even before I started this, I'd have been like throwing the ladder, dropping the F-bomb. This is ridiculous. Why am I doing this in the dark? Blah 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 blah. Right?
Yeah.
And Alice was, you know, she was like, she was ready for it. Like, hey, he's not doing.
She was ready for it. Like,
yeah, right. He's not doing this. So, negative thoughts are great. I think too many people in the world today try to sugarcoat everything and make it sprinkles and unicorns and rainbows, and we don't know how to deal with that hard line. The only way we know how to deal with that challenging thought in there is to attack you and make you're wrong, Coach. What you're doing, this is ridiculous. You guys don't know what you're talking about, right? And now it's that fight.
Yeah.
And we're all we're all just sitting there sizzling, watching the fuses go ready. Like there are times where you're like, please say something.
Hit me. Hit me.
Right? I'm a powder keg ready to go.
You get the first shot. Hit me.
Right.
Yeah.
And then it's let's go to work. Right. And I call it thumb wrestling. It's 2023 thumb wrestling. What is it? We do this.
Yeah.
Wait, oh, you're gonna thumb me back. I'll thumb you back. Oh, here, look at this link. Oh, look at that. And until you finally go, we're done. I don't even like you anymore. I mean,
Block.
Right.
Yeah, block. Right. So I think it's understanding how to take that negativity, recognize it, be aware of it.
Right.
You go to your happy place to calm your energy levels down, not to live there.
Right.
If that
Right.
makes sense, right?
No, absolutely.
Right.
We've all met people who live in a happy place. It's not really healthy.
No, those are people that are ignoring
Right.
the issues that that need to be addressed.
Oh, we have our fan in the room.
Yeah. Literally. That's right.
No,
What we see?
We could put a playing card in there and it'll sound like applause.
Yeah. Don says, I think the challenge is having the discernment to know the negative thoughts I need to deal with versus the ones I need to. Oh, that's good. Right.
Mm-hmm.
But how do you know? How do you discern that? And what time do you give yourself to discern that? Time enough to hit comment?
Well, in talking with several of my clients over the years about the 4 steps, stop, breathe, go to your happy place, ask yourself a question. I said, there are going to be times when you don't want to do that this person deserves what I'm about to give them. And I'll stop, breathe, and go to my happy place as soon as I unload all of my negative energy on them.
Yeah.
And nothing wins there, because as soon as you unload on them and they're, and then you go to your happy place and they're not in their happy place.
Right.
It becomes this constant, that's where these battles come from.
Back and forth.
So it looks like you're taking notes.
Yeah, I am. I'm getting some of the stuff.
If Shayna says, if you get yourself into a hole, the first thing to do is to stop digging. Absolutely. Mental discipline to process negative thoughts more efficiently is defiantly possible. Definitely possible. Focus is a creative force and people should be more responsible. Oh, thank you for that. People should be more responsible comment. Does anyone disagree with that?
No. But the key there is a mental discipline. So I was coaching a bunch of 8th graders earlier this spring, female athletes, and I was saying, hey, we need to be disciplined to do, right?
Right.
You trust the play. You have to be disciplined to run the play. And they all looked at me, and I was like, all right, come on. And on the way home, Lucy's like, Dad, what do you mean by discipline? What? Why are you disciplining the team if they do something right? Oh,
yep.
Right. So I think we're also in a time where people don't understand discipline, meaning, hey, I got to be regimented here. I've got to stay into this, right? That discipline, mental discipline is out the window.
Yeah.
The voice is like, squirrel, right?
Yeah.
So
a lot of people don't understand that at all,
Well, and
don't hit send.
and we perfect example. I'm coming home from Dallas.
So true.
I've got 3 bikes on a bike rack on the back of my car. And so there's a lot of weight on this bike rack. And the right lane of the tollway or interstate at that point was, pretty worn out, and you're getting the shaking. And I'm watching the bikes in the mirror. So I move over to the left lane for a while to get that. Well, somebody from Texas decided I shouldn't be in the left lane. So he passes me on the right side. He gets in front of me, he slows down, puts his arm out the window, and he's pointing for me to go over to the right lane, but he's 15 miles an hour over the speed limit. So he's going to, you know, pick and choose the laws he wants to follow.
Yeah.
And then he's going to, you know, tell me the etiquette of driving in Texas along the way. While, you know, he's all angry. And my wife's like, slow down a little bit. Let that guy get it. They carry guns in Texas, and they're accurate in their shooting probably. But, that whole
in the
point.
backyard.
Right?
Amen.
So it's a matter of perspective. We don't know anybody's story. He didn't know why I was in the left lane, but he got angry because I wasn't following his, saw the Illinois license plates. He was probably going nuts,
So that story makes me wonder, what voice was he hearing in his head?
Yeah.
Right.
He probably grew up in a place where he was always being told what he's doing wrong and what he should be doing and what he needs to do. And so now that voice is, oh, you got to correct people. That's your job. Your job is to let everybody else know what they're supposed to be doing.
Right.
And, I know people like that. And I always wonder, like, why do you care about certain things? Like you said, like, why is this particular law that I'm breaking?
Right.
Got your panties in a bunch.
Exactly.
What voice are you listening to?
Right. What's going on here?
I was speaking to the Illinois Department of Corrections last year down in Bloomington, Illinois, and had 250 officers, wardens, heads of all the prisons and jails in the state. And I opened up with the story. I was driving down here last night and I got pulled over. And I didn't know why, because I was obeying the speed limit. But the cop doesn't come up and tell me why he pulls me over. I just see him talking on the microphone. Then a second car pulls up behind him and they get out and they're talking about me and they're looking at me and they're still not coming up. And finally a third car comes and he pulls in front of me so I can't drive away. I'm like, what is going on? And finally the first officer comes up and says, "Sir, will you step out of your car?" And I said, yes, I will, officer. I get out. I said, "Could you tell me why you stopped me?" He said, "Son, you were obeying the speed limit." I said, "I know I was, but why did you stop me?" He said, "Son, nobody obeys the speed limit unless they have something to hide." He says, "So we have a search warrant. We're going to go through your car." And so the humor in it was, nobody obeys the speed limit sign. Well, some of the officers in the room later on during a break, he go, did he give you a ticket? And I'm like, yeah, I guess I was a little too, but the point of the story is, we've accepted certain things to become normal. Speed limits aren't speed limits anymore. They're speed suggestions.
Yeah.
Right? Oh no, Coach is that guy.
If you see Coach Papa Carr going speed limit down the road, just go ahead and go around me.
That's hey, you know what? We've kind of rolled, but it's time for I did not plan that.
Did not plan that.
Making life happen when things go wrong, as they sometimes will.
On the road you're trudging.
Yeah. So this is just the part of the show where we understand and appreciate everybody's life and that things go sideways from time to time. And what did you do to try to listen to that voice to make it not sideways? Anything you can think of. You just took a trip with grandkids, so I imagine several things didn't go as planned.
Well, I did not plan that. My son smoked a brisket the day we got down there. He's got the new big fancy smoker, and it made a great brisket. For our last meal before we came home, he was smoking a pork butt. Well, he didn't get it on soon enough, so the smoked pork butt didn't get to the right temperature by the time the meal was coming around, and we're leaving the next morning, and so we decided let that smoke out and we will go to a restaurant. So we go to this restaurant called the Haystack down in Frisco, best burgers in Frisco, and we have some really good burgers. Well, before the meal's over, my wife starts feeling a little bit upset tummy, and she wound up running to the restroom a couple of times there, a couple of times before we got back to his house. The next day on the road home, it was going, and we wound up with the pulled pork. My son sent a whole package of the pulled pork home with us because they couldn't eat that whole thing. But that lasted for 3 days for her. which meant I had to do more of the driving coming home than I normally do. And so while I was driving, I had this situation. So I didn't plan that. But at the end of the day, the conversation and the work and the opportunity to serve my wife for a little while, as she's just served me for several weeks. So certainly didn't plan that.
Yeah.
It all started because the pork butt didn't get done on time.
That means they got home. It took them twice as long because Coach was going the speed limit.
Well, if you actually do the research on obeying the speed limit versus 5 over, it's definitely not twice as long.
Yeah, no, not if you know math. The math isn't mathing. How about you, man? Anything in the last week that just kind of went?
No, nothing in the past week I can think of.
Yeah.
You got a wedding coming up. There's got to be some stuff going on here.
No, I mean, with the wedding, everybody says that too, and it's been an absolute blessing just to watch my wife and my daughter and my future son-in-law all working together, pushing. You can go and here's I guess here's we go out last Saturday or Sunday, might have been Sunday anyway, but so we run over to the Snuggery. We love eating at the Snuggery because you're right on the river. It's beautiful out, sun's going down, food's okay. We always get the nachos. My wife and I get the nachos, share nachos. And we invited some people that we don't normally hang out with to talk about stuff for the wedding. And if you know the Snuggery here in McHenry, I mean, there's ducks waddling around eating the crumbs off the under the tables and stuff. I mean, you're right on the river, you're outside. And if you know me, I'm a bit of a germaphobe, right? Now if it's just me, I mean, I'll drink water out of the Mississippi. I'm not that, you know what I mean? But if it's like I'm around people, you keep your germs, you do you, right? So we're sitting there eating, and the duck he picks up a chicken bone, is on this chicken bone over there. And the person that we invited goes, "Oh my God, that duck's eating a chicken bone." And she runs over, the duck drops the chicken bone, she grabs it and she throws it on the table that I'm eating on. Right now, I understand. I go to these places. I'm like, it's not, you're outside. It's a restaurant. Other people have been coughing or whatever. They cleaned down the table, but my food is on the table, and you pick up a chicken bone off the ground and throw it on my table
from a duck's mouth.
From a duck's.
I'm sure the duck has been vaccinated.
And I just sat there like, what in the royal hell is going? And I'm like, voice in head, don't get that look like, what the fuck are you doing right now? Seriously, you put this on my table? Deep breath. That inner voice.
Several deep breaths.
That inner voice started going like mile a minute, right? Like, easy, buddy. Whoa, like Rocky in the corner. Come on, champ. You calm down, man. Rubbing me down. And I was just like, what?
Oh, wow.
What are you doing? And I am just sitting here going, what would possess you to pick up any kind of nasty ass food or garbage and put it on somebody's dinner table? Literally was just, I did not plan that, right? But the honest to God truth is, that voice in my head was just like, go to your happy, I did, it went through those steps. Come on, easy, buddy, easy. Whoa, don't make it look like, don't stare at it. Don't stare at her.
I don't know if I would have been able to contain myself.
Like, and I did, right? Oh, geez. Yeah. How many times a day do we say, "What's wrong with people"?
Too many to count.
How many times do we say, "What's wrong with me"?
I was
Too many to count.
I was at a business development group yesterday morning, and they're like, "Hey, tell us who you are and the one thing that you hate about your job," you know. And I was like, "All right, cool. Kent Jones, people." If it wasn't for people, my job would be great.
Awesome.
But yeah, it's just so that was I did not plan that moment, like, right. And usually the I did not plan that moment. It's nothing that you did. It's outside forces or
You weren't
Yeah.
eating chicken by any chance, were you?
no. With nachos, pulled pork nachos,
Ah.
delicious over there, by the way.
They are.
Yeah, with the jalapenos on the side because Alice doesn't like them, so I just eat the jalapenos.
Jalapeno.
Nice.
Which is awesome. That's just yeah.
Oh,
There's something there, whether you know it or not. There's always something that happens. It's just a matter of do you catch it, and that brings us right into believe. Always believe in you with
I
Devon K. Ross.
believe for every drop of
You're
rain that falls.
No, just sticking with the things that I said last week and all the time. Continue to work on the voice. And again, I'm gonna say I really love what you're doing, Kent. You're taking words of affirmation and words of affirmations, and you're creating that tape to play in your head.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we all need to do in order to really believe in ourselves, because it's very difficult these days to do a lot of things because there's so much negativity. There's so many people that are naysayers, so many people telling you can't do it. And those reoccurring tapes can start to really mess with you. Like we were talking about last week, how you were mentioning how that coach told you couldn't play in college, and you had for years been playing those tapes thinking that, it was only there in order to help you become that college player he said you couldn't. But then that voice started to seep in other areas to where you're hearing it. It's like, wait a minute, what's going on here? So really be cognizant of that. Start telling yourself the things that you need to hear to combat the lies. Don't combat the lies with more lies, because if you're telling yourself things that are not true and you know are not true, your brain's going to interpret that and go, nope, you're lying, it's not true, and you're not going to believe anything. So just make sure you're telling yourself things to combat the lies that are existing, so that the things that you want to happen and who you want to become can become a reality by getting rid of the lies, so that you can start creating the thought patterns and the words to make what you want become a reality. And those are my words for believing in you.
I love it
for this week.
I love it. And you said something about, don't cover it up with a lie, with other lies. And there's actually a how many people do you know or have come across in your life that have told themselves a lie long enough that they believe it?
Oh yeah.
Right. And as I was playing with this, I'm glad you segued that way, because as I was, doing some research and things for the show, I was like, how many times do we have to tell ourselves a lie to believe it? There wasn't really a number, but if it's called among psychologists, it's called the illusion of truth, right? Mm-hmm. So the illusion of truth is here's how a typical experiment would work on the effects. Participants rate how true trivia items are. Things like a prune is a dried plum. Sometimes these items are true, like that one. It is like that one. But sometimes participants see parallel versions, which isn't true. Something like a date is a dried plum. And you go, oh, must be true. Let me share that meme. Let me put that out there.
Let me share that with my date.
Hey, and then I start believing that lie, right? I don't do any research on it. I just take it for what it is. And right now, social media is so strong in people's lives that they get a 2-minute snippet off of a social media platform, and that is gospel truth at that point, Like, whoa, see,
Yeah.
right? And that's and we tell our self-talk, or the voice in our head that we hear, but don't tell me that a date is not a dried plum, because I read it and it is. And I keep saying that, believing it.
It was on the internet, so it must be true.
Yeah.
Must be true. Yeah. It's absolutely ridiculous, I think. The other thing that you mentioned there is the affirmations. Okay. Now, here's my push against affirmations. Here's my push against Bible verses. Here's my push against anything of that nature is, well, I've said it. Oh, I can recite this Bible verse. Right? And what you said is it has to have meaning to you. And you have to inflect that meaning. If you don't have that meaning when you're reading it or you're reciting that affirmation, it's just noise.
Yeah, it's like I was talking about that app, and there's several of them out there where you can record yourself saying these things and you play them. And one of the things that I was taught when I first heard about it was make sure you're saying it in the right voice.
Yeah.
You don't want to go in there, I am a good coach. I am
I am good enough,
or what I call
it, smart enough.
Growing up in the church, or what I call Bible tone, a reading from John.
Yeah.
Nobody just reads it like a book, right? It's just like I mean, everybody reads the Bible as if it's some sort of poetic piece of brilliance, right?
Which it is.
No, there may be some books in there in this collection that are, but not the whole thing. But everybody reads it the same, right? And if I were just to recite, I will not get angry today. If I don't put meaning behind those words that I'm reciting, that I'm reading, that I'm trying to reboot with, then they don't mean anything.
Yeah. Well, that's, with all the poems that I have memorized, the ones that I choose to memorize are the ones that have changed or impacted my life. And if they've changed or impacted my life, I know they have the potential to change or impact other people's lives. And like you say, if I did the ragged old flag in that tone you were just using, that'd be interesting.
Yeah. I accidentally stopped a live high school basketball game. I was one of the last to figure it out too. I was that girl more than once. We used to call it being flaky. Fake it till you make it.
Flake it till you make it.
Yeah, flake it till you make it.
Pretty cool.
We need to rewrite the understanding of who we consider a trusted source. Yeah, there's a lot to that, right? Don says, nothing spoken in life just for the sake of saying it makes a difference. It has to be from the heart.
Yep.
And I know you and Pete were close. And Lisa, who's on here, says, great message, fellas. But Lisa, I remember sitting in studio here, Lisa and Pete having hard conversations. No, a heart is an organ. You can't think nothing. Blood pumps through it's an organ. Right? I mean, Pete was no. It's like the big intestine. Why can't that come from your large intestine? Why does it have to come from the heart's?
Well, what comes from the large intestine comes out the other end. So.
Meaning you have to mean it. No, I understand what you're meaning. But it was great to just sit and watch.
He's poking the bear again. He has fallen off.
See, no, I think you always have to challenge yourself, challenge others.
Absolutely.
How do you get better, right? But you don't have to be a curmudgeonly old man, right? You just don't have to, which is good. Good stuff on this, and hopefully as you're going through this week, up until we meet again, is you start rolling this through you having that conversation with a voice in your head, right? Saying,
Yes.
hey, just like I did last night. I'm like, oh, I feel myself starting to get angry. Oh wait, I said I wouldn't get angry today. Okay, deep breath. Where are we at? Get out of that fight or flight mode, because there's no reason to be in it right now.
Yeah, it's all about being that observer that we talked a lot about last week. You have to be able to step back and observe those thoughts that are coming through, the voice that's speaking to you, and determine, like I can't remember who said, being able to discern, is this the voice I should be listening to?
I will record myself prior to doing a presentation so I can check what's going on. My wife hates to be recorded. She's like, don't you record me. Why do you always record yourself? I said, because I want to get better at what I do. And the only way to do it is to record and be able to hear my voice coming back. And am I putting the right inflection in the right place? Am I putting the right moves? And the only way to do that is to step out. Unfortunately, with these, we can do that for a presentation, but in life, being able to sit back and say, one of the things I get caught up in doing, I don't know if we all do, but on Facebook, is watching these reels that show up, the reels.
I love the reels.
Love reels.
And they're always, a lot of them are fishermen catching a fish, and they'll stop the reel or it'll end before you see the fish.
Yeah, we only get 2 minutes.
They want you to come back.
Yeah.
It's like, why am I watching this guy reel with a bent pole and I never get to see the fish? Well, we want to see the conclusion. What's going on? What's the end of the story?
Yeah, I like the ones who say, "Wait till the end," and nothing happened.
And there's no.
Like,
and then it starts.
Why did I just went 3 minutes watching this? That's it. Listen, I know you got to get running. We got to get running. Metaphysical Mandarings is coming up at 9:30 next week. We talked a lot about it this week, but where is your happy place?
Where is your happy place?
And do you have more than one? So as we get into this, to try to help people work through and work with the voice that they hear and whose voice it is, we've talked a lot about it over the last 2 weeks. You got to go to your happy place, right? Is it a person? Is it a place? Is it a thing? What is it that you go to that says, that's my happy place? And how do you get there? And once you're there, how do you get out of it? So I think it's going to be fun. Friday morning, I'll be on Friday morning, the grounds, talking about boys and their toys. Does the person with the most toys win? Right. And you might be surprised at what you learn on Friday morning with the grounds. And then, of course, later in the day, we're going to have In the Know with Steph and Joe, small business. Is it better to farm for employees, or is it better to headhunt for employees? They're going to be going through some good stuff. Innovative Strategies is going to be a rerun. Bridging Civil Tension is revamping its show, so they're off again, but they'll be coming back, which will be good. So
what's that?
Yeah, easy. No. All right, for all of us here, 21.6 The Net. Appreciate you. You got something there, or?
Well, we'll share that out.
Gotcha. And of course, we appreciate you spending some time with
two bald guys and a microphone. And this is Coach Papa with Dick and Demond. And it's time to get off the bench and get back in the game. Make this your best day yet. Now, travel safe. Have a blessed and beautiful day.